Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, I have Creed stuck in my head. Can you take me higher? I didn't even know that was like a Christian themed rock band until I was way older. Um, you can't even see what I'm trying to watch. Original link to the video, top of the description. My name is Connor if you're new. Hi guys. I tried to say hey and hi at the same time, and it kind of came out as hiya. Hiya guys. Preemptive like, do a subscribe. Martin Zero. Yup. If that's your real name, that's such a cool name. Regardless, cool YouTube channel name. Oh, another video. An English Tudor Hall, 400 years old. If you are not new, then I don't think you'll be surprised that I'm watching another one of these types of videos. Love it. Love history. Love English history. Love architecture. Need I say more? Let's go. I just watched a video a few days yesterday or 2 days ago, maybe three, of a 1350 English half timber house, and so that house was already, I mean, it was almost like twice as old. Well, I can't do math for. This is 400 years old, probably around 1600. 350, that's 250. So that was already like 250 years old by the time this was built. It's kind of cool to put time into perspective like that. I think we all know the Cleopatra was closer to now than to the creating of the pyramids.
Hello. My name is Martin and welcome back to another video. So it's a midweek video, so going slightly different, only slightly different today. I'm in the town of Middleton, just to the north of Manchester, and I'm going to show you something at the top of this little lane that I'm on here now. Do you remember Medlock 8, where we found that old picture of Garrett Hall, lost, lonely hall, where with one gable end just left, and they finally demolished it in 1910, and it was like a Elizabethan Tudor style of house. Well, Garrett Hall is long since gone, but today I'm going to show you something similar. Well, I'm going to show you another hall that is still standing.
I'm excited.
I'm going to show you Tonge Hall. Now, this place is incredible. I'm going to turn the camera around, let you go first, and you can see what I'm about to see at the top of this lane.
You guys are so lucky. You can just walk up to such a far back in history thing. I sometimes think like I don't need to say certain things on my mind because I say them a lot in certain videos, but not everyone watches all those. To have such old architecture and old history in and around where you live is something I hope you don't take for granted, because this is beautiful and I would love to work on this. God damn.
So there you go. Just behind.
Guys, think about someone standing here in 2024. Think about someone standing here in 2020, in 2000. Think about someone standing here in 1950, in 1875, in 1812, in 1745, in 1700, in 1689, and this is still there. And just imagining, you ever, like, sometimes I'll like stop at a traffic light and I'll like look over for a second. I won't like awkwardly stare, but I'll look over. And it strikes me, it's like, I have never seen that person's face in my life. And I am never going to see that person's face again. And just knowing that I just crossed paths with someone who I'd never met and who had an entire life that they lived with all the ups and downs and everything. And we just happened to cross on that point. And there's something magical about that. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it. But I think about it in a way of just like, I have like moving images in my head of just like people 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 150, 200, 300, 400 years ago, having full lives of their own with heartbreak and death, family and love and all this stuff. And it's so crazy, the amount of experiences. I'm going too far, too soon. Sorry. Something just so emotional about just seeing old things.
So there you go. Just behind the fence there, that is Tonge Hall, as you've just seen. Probably one of the most saddest places we'll ever look at on these videos. When you do the research on it, you try and look up how old it is. The dates come in at around about 1584. Yeah, 1584, can you believe? And obviously you've looked at it, it's a Tudor style timber framed old hall. It's in a very sad state at the moment because in 2007 some yobs got in and set fire to it and caused extensive damage.
What?
Yobs got in and set fire to it and caused extensive damage. Just prior to that, the owner, who was an elderly gentleman, had moved out, left the place empty, and then the yobs got in and set fire to it. So, like I say, it's in a very sad state at the moment. So, a couple of months ago, there was a breach in the fence, I'll be honest with you, and I managed to get in there. Now, considering that somebody got in there and torched the place, me going in there with a camera I don't think is a bad thing, and I wanted to record it for you and show it to you. I initially went in there to just a bad thing, and I wanted to record it for you and show it to you. I initially went in there to just take pictures, but it turned out that I needed to make a video of it. Now, the reason this video is different and it's a midweek video is because you're just going to go on a camera journey around the place. It's a bit of a time capsule. Obviously it's a very old place, but it's only a time capsule because the previous owner's stuff, some of it is still in there. I think it's been stood empty for about 12-15 years, so what you'll see in there is from the owner before, and it's all been there for just over a decade. I'm going to let you go in, have a look around, take the camera journey. I'm going to hand you over to myself 2 months ago in a minute, and you can just go in and have a look around basically. Yep. I'll come back in a bit and try and give you some information about the place, but that's Tonge Hall. You can go and take a look inside like I did.
An older fireplace? So it's difficult for me to tell how much damage is just from natural aging and deterioration and how much extensive damage is from the fire that was started. It's mad on purpose, seemingly. Sorry, what was I gonna... Oh yeah, it gives me a sort of, you ever seen images of footage of the Titanic on underground at the bottom of the ocean, like underground water, the vehicles, whatever you call them. I get a similar feeling of just seeing it in a a very much deteriorated place that is certain objects like the tea kettle. Just kind of, you ever seen the movie Titanic, where it like transfers from the deteriorated at the bottom of the sea Titanic to where the movie starts with like how it was back in 1912 or whenever when it sank. And I get a similar feeling, like an eerie, but not an altogether bad feeling. It's a little eerie, but it's like what I said earlier about just thinking about other people living their lives and having many years of their lives and experiences that you know nothing about. And I think it's good to come out of your own, you know. Oh, that's interesting. I would assume this is a much older way of building walls with sticks and whatnot, and were covered somehow, and later with the plaster like material. The cool thing with if you ever work on old houses, nothing like this, but you can see stuff that looks old and then stuff that looks older, like from the original stuff, and then more things that were repaired and renovated. And this is that times 10. If I'm right there, guys, if you know better, please tell me. HMS Victory. Admiral Nelson. I have such a crazy blender mix emotions. Like, part of me keeps going back to, like, the fact that stupid kids came in and burned it. But that's actually subdued by more powerful emotions I have of just, I guess I'll the Titanic effect. I don't know what you want to call it. Of just imagining how it lived and just thinking about the history. And it's all very emotionally confusing. I like it.
So the timeline on this place is absolutely staggering, and of all the information I found this report, and it was a tree ring analysis of Tonge Hall and the timbers. Apparently they took samples from the timbers in the hall, looked at the rings from the trees that they were cut from, and dated them. Now, the first fact is that in 1580, when this place was built, it was Queen Elizabeth I that was on the throne. It's just staggering, isn't it? But
hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt this guy, but how would that date the house? Counting the tree rings would tell you how old the tree was when it was cut down. But that doesn't necessarily tell you when that tree was alive, does it? Or maybe I'm...
The first fact is that in 1580, when this place was built, it was Queen Elizabeth I that was on the throne. It's just staggering, isn't it? But they found that some of the timbers, or the earliest timbers that were cut, dated from 1449. The latest timbers from the original build was 1687. As we know, that the place was altered during the course of its history, but 1449, 1687, the earliest timbers. 1449, that was Henry VI that was on the throne when those trees were cut. It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? And it's always the case when you go to these places. You look at the house and you think, well, if that place is old, the timbers that built it must be even older.
Be careful going up those stairs. Obviously, he's okay, so it worked out. A spiral staircase. Love it. I would say be very careful, but it doesn't look like he has any casts on or anything, so obviously he made it out okay. But the age of the house, the fact of the fire, yeah. Guys, I'm sorry. I just let me go back to when he's going up the stairs. I didn't really get the full effect I wanted to there. For myself. Wonder what that is they use for insulation.
Did you see that wall? Did you see the wall with the reeds in it? What was it called? That was it wattle and daub, where they used to weave like a reed mat.
I'm so glad he's pointing out the thing that I wondered most about.
Wattle and daub, where they used to weave like a reed mat and put it between the timber frames and then put mud on it to form a wall. They don't do that anymore, do they? And if you notice the scaffolding over the house...
Guys. There, like, if you ever worked... I've never been a construction worker, guys, but, like, I have been around my parents when they've renovated a house that they bought, and I would be involved in some of the stuff. Obviously, they'd have professional people come in, too. But my dad is pretty handy. And so you can see some... like difference in like when you tear down walls, like the nails look a bit different that they use and the screws, and maybe the timber is a little bit different shape or maybe a different kind. And that's a cool little thing that you can see in the past. This is so much bigger than that. This is like, you're going back. It's like you tear down. It's like, oh, look at the sticks bundled wall with wood on it. That is so freaking magical.
Anymore, do they? And if you notice the scaffolding over the house and the kind of the cover, that's just to protect it. It's grade 2 listed, but it's marked down at risk. Now, it's not going to get pulled down or anything, but it's at risk of further deterioration. I think there's a wrangle between English Heritage and Rochdale Council as to who's going to put money into to do it up, basically. It would take millions, because you can't just, you've got to be faithful to the original build. What's going to happen to the house, I don't know. I've put together, I'd love to tell you the social history of the house and tell you stories of what happened in the house, but I can't do that. But what I have done is I've put together a potted history, a timeline of the ownership, because that sort of stuff is sort of documented. So the main figure that comes across is 1584 when it was built, and it was built in 1584 1634 by Christopher Tonge. In 1638, Christopher Tonge leaves the house to Richard Tonge, and he marries May Wollstonecraft. Now, remember these names because you might be related to some of them. You might own Tonge Hall. Who knows, eh? So Richard and May leave the house in 1678 to Jonathan. He then leaves it to another Richard Tonge, and Richard Tonge marries Alice. This is now 1703. And Richard and Alice in 1703 do some considerable alterations to the house. I've since learned, since I was at the house, that Richard and Alice either carved or had the names on one of the downspouts. I presume that's one of the gutters. So if we could have got near there or seen it, there's an R and A 1703 marked on one of the downspouts in the house. Unfortunately, I didn't know that at the time, so I couldn't show it you. So Richard and Alice did all that work, but then in 1726 it's bought by John Starkey of Haywood. John Starkey then leaves it to James Starkey. It looks like James has got no immediate children, so it's left to an Anne Hornby and a Joseph Langton. Now in Middleton we have a Hornby Street and a Langton Street, so possibly named after them. Throughout the 1800s, the house has many tenant farmers, and it passes through many hands. And around that area, it is all fields still, really. And obviously, imagine back in the 1800s, it was farms. 1890, a Tonge comes back to the house. William Asherton Tonge buys the house. Now he's a bit of a collector and he's into his art, and he's got a collection that you can still go and see at Chetham's Library in Manchester. I've not seen it. I must make a point of going there and having a look. Oh, by the way, William Asherton Tonge offers the house as a museum to the township of Middleton, but they refuse it because they can't afford the house and they can't afford to run it as a museum. Remember the Wollstonecrafts in the 1600s, May Wollstonecraft? Well, I'm thinking now we're much later on in the 1900s because an Albert Wollstonecraft, who was the mayor of Middleton, now buys the house, and he, right up to date now, leaves it to his son, Captain Norman Wollstonecraft, and he was the last owner. From what I've last read, he is now a pensioner, and he's moved out of the house, and he's not in the town at all anymore. And when he moved out around about 2007, that is when the house fell into disrepair. Vandals got in and set light to the place. So there you go. That's a potted history of the house. We're going to cut now just back to the fields at the back of the house, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of my history and that about that field and that area.
Let's hear it.
I grew up round here in Middleton. Incidentally, that's my old school over there, just in the background, and we used to walk across these fields, and we always referred to it as Tudor Hall. We knew it was Tonge Hall, but we just called it Tudor Hall for some reason, because it was a classic looking Tudor sort of house. But yeah, that's my side story. That's my old school. That's where it all happened. It all went in back in the early 80s. Probably the happiest school I ever went to, actually. I think because I was older and it was so near to my house. But yeah, the early 80s, the synth pop revolution happened while I was at that school, and that was where I used to be a train spotter and tried to keep it undercover and not tell anyone. Anyway, it all comes to fruition when you're older, doesn't it? So there you go. I used to go to
Train spotters.
Senior High School in the early 80s. Probably the best school, like I say, the best school I've ever been to. Lots and lots of laughs at that school. At that age when you're 14 and 15 and you laugh at everything and you're very, very stupid. And I was very, very stupid back then. So there you go. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting this far. More videos to come. I think the next video I'm working on will be Medlock number 9. It's high time that I got that one out. So, like I say, thanks for watching the video. Take care, and I shall see you very soon in the next video. Bye for now.
Seems like such a great guy. From the little I can see, I feel like you can get a good feel for someone, especially when they seem to act very genuine. So, The emotional music just put it up to a next level because I was already pretty emotional throughout the video. I love stuff like this. I have no other reason for loving to watch this stuff other than I find it fascinating and it tickles my brain in the right way. So, love you guys. I hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below. You guys are always awesome with that. Any answers to any of my questions, any comments at all. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time. We'll keep on learning. Bye, guys.